Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. This is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. And of course, at the end of the episode, we announce the viewer's pick of the week. So in the comments below, be sure to let me know your pick of the week. And of course, hopefully you guys can subscribe, like, and comment throughout this video. It really does help the channel. Now, jumping in, we have 11 comics this week, a pretty average amount of comics. So number 11 for me, I'm sad. I was actually looking forward to this one, and that is Defenders issue 1. The reason I was looking forward to it, I'm a big Betty fan. I really like Red Hulk, or Red She-Hulk, and now that she's the Harpy as well, Red Harpy, I just have been really enjoying the character from Immortal Hulk, and just always enjoy the character since she's been Red She-Hulk. So to have her in this, I was excited. Al Ewing was writing it. I've never really gotten into a Defenders book, so maybe this is an opportunity to do so. I think the last time I've read Defenders was when Betty was in the Defenders, so I haven't really had much experience with the team. But this one felt a little stilted to me. We have Doctor Strange, who's pretty much the voice for the whole issue, and there's not a lot of emotion here. We have the Masked Raider, who's introduced, who feels a little too late here. He was originally introduced with Marvel Comics issue 1000, kind of painted as this big deal, big hype. And then obviously COVID hit and we really didn't get to see much with this character. And now he's in Defenders and I'm like, okay, what makes you so special? Why should you be a hyped character? And I didn't quite see that in this first issue. Also, this is very much an issue about wrangling the team together, but there's no real emotional beats from any other character because it's all from Doctor Strange's point of view. So we get to say, oh, there's Betty, there's Silver Surfer, they've been on the team before, and there's nothing much else here. And there wasn't a lot of things that really hooked me to want to get issue 2, besides the artwork. I do like the art style. I believe it's the same artist who's done Spider-Woman in the past, which I love that run of Spider-Woman. So I don't know if I'm going to get issue 2, besides that I like Betty Brand. That's really the only thing. Betty Ross, sorry. Other than I like Betty Ross, that's really the only reason I would want to pick up the next issue. So overall, I'm going to be giving this 2 stars, and that is number 11. Moving on to number 10, which is Fight Girls, issue 2. This is a series I was very much looking forward to when it was announced. I really liked the concept of it, and also I just really liked the artwork. I thought the artwork looked really good. But now getting into issue 2, there's still not much story besides these are all very pretty girls fighting each other to the death. It's a Hunger Games styled book, and it's just really pretty artwork. And I personally like some good, some more plot-driven comic books, and I just don't really feel like I'm getting that here, besides having very good-looking art. So I don't know if I'm going to be picking up issue 3. I wish I liked this more than I did. So giving that 2 stars, and that is number 10. Moving on to number 9, which is Infinite Frontier, issue 4. I really like the first issue of this book, but since then, I feel like it's been a very slow burn. And honestly, it's trying to tackle a little bit too much. We have too many characters, too many multiverses, without too much real plot progression. I feel like a lot of things are just thrown at you when it's plot progression, like the ending of this issue. You now have the Injustice team. So we also have a couple of multiverse characters introduced. We have Jade coming back, which was the previous cliffhanger. And then Roy also is just trying to deal with his feelings about Leon and trying to save his daughter, which is a very similar story that we got with Wally West for so many years. And do we want that repeated with Roy Harper? So overall, I like the artwork for this book. I am going to stick through it to see where this book goes and what this means for the bigger DC universe. I feel like we're always asking that question with these type of books and never truly getting the answer. But I just feel a little lukewarm on this one besides the art style. And I am glad that the art style is very consistent. So giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 9, I believe. Moving on to number 8, and that is surprisingly The Joker, issue 6. It's a book I've been loving, but the past couple of issues have kind of slowed down, maybe because of the announcement of Tynion leaving the Bat books and him wrapping things up. But this is kind of the same old. It's Barbara and Jim teaming up, trying to find the Joker. Very slow burn. There's not much that happens in this issue besides that Jim meets up with Interlude, and we get a little backstory about some emotional beats about his his ex-wife and his relationship with Barbara, but not enough to really push this to say you must get this issue. Also, the artwork I think works sometimes, but for slower issues like this, it just kind of felt stilted. I didn't have a lot of emotion here, which made this drag a little bit more. So overall, giving this 2.5 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, another Batman book, and that is Detective Comics issue 1041 we're up to. This one, another story arc that has been going on for a very long time. And this is actually a new story arc. They're just kind of dealing with the same things that they've been dealing with. So we saw Mr. Worth wanting his revenge on Bruce Wayne. Bruce trying to get, or I would say Batman trying to get Bruce Wayne out of that, but also understanding I guess a point of view of not being rich anymore and what that means in Gotham and actually grounding the character a bit. But it's also still these infection characters that we've been dealing with from the last arc. It's just a lot of remnants from the last arc that don't really feel like need as many issues as we're getting. But there are some good moments. I like Barbara and Bruce's interaction in this issue. I love the artwork. I like Bruce kind of realizing his place in Gotham with not having money, like I mentioned before, but the actual plot, there's not much going on in the book, and I really want some more interesting threads to be threaded into here, which I don't think we've gotten in the last couple of issues. So overall, I'm giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, and I think I gave that, did I give it 2.5 stars? I gave it 3 stars, but I think I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. That's what I'm vibing with when I say it in this episode. So I'm gonna go with 2.5 stars. But moving on to the next one, which is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 10. This steps away from what we've been dealing with Trini and Jason and Zach, and actually goes to the past and talks about the mythology of Zordon and exactly how he got to the place he is today. And I enjoyed that. You know, I haven't been a fan of the flashbacks in previous issues, but having a full issue with Dan Mora artwork, I thought was good. And I like the emotional beats that were hit here. It's still not quite my vibe of what I like for Power Rangers. I do think it's a little bit too heavy on the mythology. That's not stuff that I particularly love about the Power Rangers. I do like the other series a little bit more, but I do think this is necessary. And what I love about the comic is stuff we never got a chance to see in the TV show. So to see a whole backstory on Zordon, that's something we never had a chance to see, and to dive into more mythology and to dig deeper into the potential of what Power Rangers is and being more than a kid show. And I think this issue did a great job at that. So that's why I'm giving that 3 stars, and that is number 6 on the list. Moving on to number 5, which is Fantastic Four Life Story issue 3. I really liked issue 2, the Sue Storm issue, and I feel like this issue really picks up as it goes along. It's from Johnny's point of view, and him always wanting to be the life of the party, and seeing his family torn apart. You know, Sue being with Namor, Franklin getting himself in trouble. I mean, literally you don't even see Ben in this issue that much, and then obviously Reed being obsessed with the world ending and the idea that the world can end, and Johnny, we get to see it through Johnny's eyes, and then we do get to see the team come back together and the family come back together, and Johnny ends up dying in the end of the issue. And that's what I love about the life story books, is that you could do big moments like this and make it fully character driven and also reflect what it means for the 80s. And I love the style of this book. I thought the clothes, the outfits just look so good in this issue, and in the art style I really think fits very well for Fantastic Four. So overall, I really think it picked up a lot towards the end and left an interesting message about Johnny as a character, and again, the whole life of the party aspect. And I'm glad that went full circle, and I'm curious to see for the 90s what the team's gonna look like. Are they gonna be a family? Are they gonna be the Fantastic Four again, especially without Johnny, and what that means for the kids as well, or just Franklin, I think, is in this book right now, so we'll see if Valeria shows up. But yeah, overall, giving that 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one, and overall enjoying this series. So that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Daredevil issue 33. This book, this arc, I should say, has been interesting because there's a part that I love about this book. The Bullseye stuff is so interesting, and the way Elektra's written, and especially being Daredevil, I absolutely adore. And I enjoyed the team up between Iron Man and Spider-Man showing up as well. But then things start to slow down with our main character, which is Matt Murdock. I just don't feel like they've been jiving as well in the past couple of issues, the arc with Elektra and the arc with Matt, where I think in the beginning of this shared costume idea, I feel like the two stories connected a little bit easier. And now Matt's just like, I want to stay in jail forever, even though there's been so many opportunities for him to leave. But I thought the artwork was a lot stronger for this issue compared to the last, and more consistent this issue. And I like that we learned a lot more about Bullseye and why he's around and how there's so many of them. So I thought that was interesting, and how that kind of connects to the bigger underworld of New York City and Hell's Kitchen. So overall, giving that 3.5 stars. I like this issue, but I do think that they need to jive a little bit more the two storylines. So moving on to number 3, which is Captain Marvel issue 21. I actually thought we were starting the new arc with this one, but I'm kind of glad we didn't. We actually get this like one-off vacation issue, and the opener is so much fun. It's just Rhodey and Captain Marvel going on a vacation, but Carol decides, hey, I want to go on a real airplane and just enjoy the experience. And obviously that's horrible. They are celebrities, and we get a lot of great jokes there. Then Carol's sister shows up saying, hey, something's going on with our mom's DNA at this place. We need to go fight this person. They fight this person. Looks like Sludge Guy's gonna be a bigger character, which I don't know how to feel about that, but it was a good fight for this issue. And then they have to be quarantined, and Rhodey and Carol end up having their vacation. And overall, it's just a really fun issue. I feel like this series in general does really well with that. One of my favorite issues of this series was the Girl Night Out issue from a couple arcs ago, and I feel like that felt reminiscent to this issue, and making Rhodey and Carol reconnect was really important because they were apart for a little while with the whole future story going on. And artwork's really good. It's the same artist that has done Miss Marvel in the past, so it really fit this one. And I'm curious to see how this is all going to tie into this last Captain Marvel storyline that we're going to get, which I'm super excited to see other Captain Marvels and see hopefully Kamala show up as well, because I'm not reading anything with Kamala right now, and she doesn't have an ongoing book at this second. They did delay her miniseries. So very excited to see more Kamala, and her interacting with Carol is always fun. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, and that is Batman Urban Legends issue 6. Now, obviously, there is a big story that happened here, which is the Tim Drake story. I am going to do a whole video on it and the importance of Tim Drake coming out as bisexual, which I hope to release tomorrow. So look forward to that either tomorrow or Friday. But like I said, I'm going to try releasing that one tomorrow. And just to give us spark notes of how I felt about that story, I really adored it. I thought it was well written. I feel like it really showcased a real bisexual storyline, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes for Tim Drake. The artwork was really good, and I thought the setup for it was really good. And I guess the only nitpick I have is I hate that they kind of hid it in an anthology book, but then that's also something I really enjoy about Urban Legends, is that it's not just an anthology book. There's stories that mean something, and you should read every month to see what's happening with your favorite characters. I somewhat enjoy that about this series as well. But, you know, having such a big, important moment maybe would be nice to reference in Batman as well, and other flagships, and I guess we'll see in the future if it does. Then also we have the Jason Todd story, which is the whole reason I started picking up this series. I'm not a huge Jason Todd fan, but that first issue really grabbed me. And I feel like the last issue stuck the landing, where we get to see Jason Todd experiment with being happy. And we actually do get some changes with him as well. Him giving up using the guns. We'll see if this, follows through in any other story. But we also get to see him maybe somewhat have a closer relationship with Bruce, and them trying to reconcile their past. Artwork is really good for this one too. I just thought it really ended very well and concluded very well. And yeah, it's honestly one of the best Jason Todd stories I've read in a really long time. Again, I'm not a huge Jason Todd fan, but this one really sucked me in, and I thought ended very well. Speaking of, another great story in this issue, which is why this is so high up, Black Canary. Also, this is an important story for the next Deathstroke book. So we get to see why Black Canary is going to be in the Deathstroke book, and also there's going to be this new war coming up. I think it's called, I gotta see what it's called. It's called A Shadow War, and Talia al Ghul is going to be part of it. So there's a lot that's going to happen in that Deathstroke book, which I'm already excited for. I believe it's called like Deathstroke Inc. I'm very much going to pick it up. I don't quite understand why it's in a Batman book. We do get a little bit of Birds of Prey action here, which was really nice, and I like the gritty art style as well. But, hey, it gave us a lot of information for an upcoming book I'm particularly excited for, and it was a pretty good prelude, so I enjoyed that one. My only nitpick about this issue is probably the Zealot story. I don't know much about the character, and I really don't know why that's in this book, or why it has to do with Batman. It ended up being a Wonder Woman story, so that was probably my only nitpick for the book. But overall, I thought 3 out of the 4 were really good stories, really important stories, and I hope Batman Urban Legends continues to tell important stories. That way it makes more people pick up this book and give more heaviness towards anthologies and why you should pick up anthologies and have short stories. So I'm going to give that 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, I'm sure you guys have already guessed it, and that is Runaways issue 38 / issue 100. I have so many feelings about this book. So we did find out this is the last issue of Runaways. I don't know if we're going to get another volume anytime soon. And I'm sad about this. I mean, this has been my favorite book since issue 1. It's been on the stands for a long time, and I hate to see it go. And it's interesting because also, obviously, it's a big queer book as well. We have Karolina and Nico, where you could find a queer couple every month, and now we don't have that, you know? And there's a bug in front of me. Now we don't have that book, and that kind of disappoints me. Going into the Karolina and Nico story, we also probably won't have a book anytime soon where we'll be seeing them together, because this ends with Karolina going off and doing her own thing. Obviously, they're still a couple. They still love each other, and I thought the moments they had were really good, especially Nico giving her staff away. I mean, we can't even get to see the continuation of that either. Like, what does she do with not having her magic anymore? Like, who is she as a hero if she doesn't have her magic? And she completely gives it up for Karolina. There's some interesting conversations about Zavin, and if, you know, Karolina still loves Zavin. We actually get to see where Zavin's been this whole entire time, and we get a little glimpse of it with Alex watching all of this. There's so many cliffhangers that, honestly, in some regards, I'm like a little sad about, because I'm like, man, this is some really potentially great story, and we're not gonna see this anywhere. That's disappointing, but at the same time, it delivered such a good story and so many interesting cliffhangers. I'm like, well, I also love this book because there's so many great big stories and emotional stories. And that's not just with Nico and Karolina. We also get a big story with Chase, and really interestingly, him not, you know, becoming a villain in a second. It's him in the future becoming a villain over time because of things that have happened in his life. And I thought genuinely that was such an interesting take on the Runaways and what it means to be a villain and what it means to be a person. And, I love the future storyline with Gert. We get a little bit of Molly. I feel like she probably got the short end of the stick the most. We have some introduction of her going to Krakoa, and we don't know if she's going to go or not. We get some future storyline with her as well, and see her in the future, which we've seen in the past anyways. But I want more. Like, I want to see where this all goes, and I hope it's not the thing that has always happened with Runaways, that we're going to have to wait like another 10 years to see this continuation of really important stories. And, I think that's probably the biggest disappointment. But then, again, it delivered such a game changer, great, emotionally driven story that I loved it. And the artwork was really good here for all the characters and all the emotions explored here. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good finale. It kind of reminds me of a TV show that I didn't know was getting canceled. And you're like, oh my God, where's the next season? But that was also really good storytelling. I wish there was another season. But overall, I really did enjoy this issue. But I can't go to the 5 stars because of the slight disappointment of us not getting another issue. So overall, I'm going to give that 4.5 stars. And that's my pick of the week. But in the comments below, let me know what your pick of the week was. Last week, the viewer's pick of the week was Hellions. So here are some comments about that. And hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter, They Call Her a Dancer, and for free on Webtoon is Slice of Life. We also have By Visibility, the Kickstarter coming out on August 30th, a comic book anthology about bisexuality. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is our comic book podcast, Comic Book Weekly. So be sure to check that out as well. Thanks, guys. Bye.